Okay, hello everybody. Welcome again. This is the second half of the recording of the December 1st presentation, and I'm doing a lot about current events and how that relates to Flying Rainbow Lasagna. And so we were just leaving off with this idea of if family members are stuck on the interstices, or if they have not fully resolved their emotional experiences of life, what is the best, kindest way to help them towards, on their journey of consciousness? So yes, to remove energy from that. This is a really good segue into another thing I wanted to talk about from last week, what I spoke about, this idea of synthetic replicants being on Earth, and how this was also part of, what happened in ancient Atlantis and what is going on right now. What do we do when we meet a synthetic replicant? What do we do? What is the kindest thing to do? And let me draw also the time field in terms of a synthetic replicant. So I drew in the first half of this presentation the idea of conception and just trying to be conceived, and how you have to go through all the rigmarole just to be conceived. So let's say that this is the life of a person who has been created, and that there's this timeline over here is the one where the egg or some, here, I'll draw an egg over here. Like, oh, that just disappeared. What just happened? Okay, let's do this again. Here, some weird things are happening with technology. Okay, I just drew an egg. That's the egg for that timeline. So let's say that, just like you're struggling to get born, like on some of these possibilities, your stomach forms outside of your skin, or your brain doesn't function, or whatever. You can't occupy those bodies. But let's say on this timeline that I just drew over here, this is the one where the female's egg is harvested, and, through CRISPR or some kind of, genetic hijinks, different possibilities, different genetic possibilities are inserted into there. I'm talking about genetically modifying a human. Like this has been going on for a long time through using satanic technology. So maybe they want to splice in some chimpanzee or some fish or whatever into, yes, a human. Exactly. This is exactly the same type of stuff, rather, that was going on at the end of Atlantis. So we got a person who's, this would have been a regular human through natural consequences, through natural conception, but instead got some extra splices in there, and I'll draw some red squiggles, like these are the extra red genetic splices that got squiggled into there. And then that person is born. And so here's that person in the time field over here, right? But that person is not, now I'll draw, let's say this light blue, this is their true self. This is who they're really supposed to be. That was not a line in the right direction here. This is supposed to go up all the way to infinity, right? This is their true version of themselves. That version of self did not have a bunch of crazy stuff spliced into their egg, all right? That version of themselves was conceived of naturally and nourished into fruition, and, moved to the time field and did all the things it's supposed to do. Now I'm going to draw in purple the overlapping of another time. Here we go. Here's another life. Here's another person's life. And this person is just a regular person who's not genetically modified or anything like that. Look at this. So this person, this is their infinity line. Look at this guy's purple timeline. I just drew a bunch of purple timelines over here. One of his timelines intersects with that red genetically modified person. That genetically modified person is technically not even supposed to be in the time field. You're not supposed to have a human that is like an aberration. That's a connection, a combination of, tomato genes and fish genes and chimpanzee genes. Like that is not naturally occurring, because you would never in nature have a fish make love to a tomato and then, make love to a chimpanzee. That would not happen. So we have a note or a chord being played in the music that's technically not even supposed to be in the music. And look, this purple person over here, look, they're able to interact with that person. They might watch a video of that person speaking. They might meet that person at a coffee shop, or they might, whatever, literally meet and interact with that person. What are we supposed to do with this synthetic person that is made? What are we supposed to do with them? I've said in previous, webinars and everything, please do not grab a machine gun and begin to shoot all the people who you start to perceive are not real people, because we're surrounded by a lot of people that are not real people. When I say real people, I mean naturally occurring people. And some people are like, Aurora, isn't that the pot calling the kettle a little black? Like, you're not a naturally occurring person. Oh, guess what? I am totally a naturally occurring person. I'm not created through any kind of technology. I've not been upheld through any kind of technology. Even the healing, the profound healing of my body and my neurology, all of that has been done through love and divinity. It's not like I went to a doctor who cut open my skull and put a microchip in there so I could, do math again. That is not what happened. So I am all natural. That is like on the label of Aurora, all naturally created, 100%, organic life over here. And that's really, really different. So just like in level 1, I was talking about the existence of English bulldogs, these dogs that can only be in the time field because of human intervention called having a cesarean section, because their pelvises aren't even shaped properly to give birth. And that if we didn't have the doctor to take the babies out, couldn't have the next generation. If humanity stopped having technology tomorrow, you wouldn't be able to have any more generations of English bulldogs, because we literally have to have them surgically removed from their parents. Okay, so that type of life is what I'm talking about when I'm pointing to this red person over here. The reason why this red person is in existence is because their genes have been artificially manipulated and technology has been used in order to transfer consciousness into that body. What's the solution? The solution is not to take a machine gun, to go back to my face, take a machine gun and shoot that person. No, because when a lot of people start, so this whole presentation that I'm doing today, this is seeing on the anthropomorphic level. I'm looking through my human-shaped filter, my human-shaped lens, and telling you what I see. For a lot of people, once they start to activate on this level and they start to look through their anthropomorphic lens, they see demons everywhere, and they are accurate. If you look around and you see demons everywhere, you're actually seeing the truth, but it's all about how you react to that. So when I first came here as a walk-in and I saw all of the demonic activity here, I would tell people about it, and people thought that I was insane and that I was also very socially inappropriate. So then I had to learn I cannot speak about this very openly. And so that's also why for many years in my recordings I would call them occupiers of the interstices, because it was a huge, it was a cognitive leap that a lot of people were not prepared to make. The idea that, oh, guess what? You've got invaders in your genetic code, and that they're what we would technically call demons, all right? And that demons can even be walking around. And in the first recording of this presentation, I talked about families that are connected to these ancient bloodlines that actually go back to gods of Sumeria or gods of ancient Mesopotamia. Those are not real gods. They're, demiurges or lower level personality characteristics, not the divine. But these are the type of people that set themselves up as being so great. So people who are really great don't really need to say how great they are. Like musicians who are really great, like Jimi Hendrix, I love him, he's wonderful. He didn't say like, I'm the best virtuoso of the world. He didn't talk a lot of shit. He played his guitar and it was evident how good he was at what he did, right? But people that are not really that good, those are the people that tend to talk a lot of shit and also to need validation and external validation. So these are these lame-ass losers that set themselves up as gods in ancient Sumeria. Yes, lame-ass losers, and they've literally been running the show for the past 15,000 years or so. And so flying rainbow lasagna is the solution to how we can be free. And I'm going to get into also, much more of that. Effective tools against, so wait, what do we do with these beings? So this is also, I wanted to say, very similar to that original Blade Runner movie, when there are replicants, actual clones, who don't necessarily know consciously that they are clones, that some of these artificially created people or English bulldogs don't even know that they've been spliced together like some kind of genetic quilt, and that they're not normal, and that they're not natural, and that they can even have implanted memories. Once again, oh, Daniel G, very good what you're saying up there. Once humans on this planet begin to understand how sophisticated the exotic technology is at manipulating consciousness, you won't be impressed by anybody's memories. They can implant a memory. That's what I was saying about the secret space program. You take someone and you implant a memory in them that says, you went to Mars, and they can't distinguish between real reality and the implanted memory. So this is going on in a lot of these synthetic beings. They've been put into the time field intentionally. So this is the other thing. Some people are just an experiment, like let's Frankenstein up some people and throw them in the time field and see what happens. Some people are very intentionally programmed, and they might even be programmed with the idea like, I'm a freedom fighter. I'm really, on the same team as you. They're like double agents. They're totally not freedom freedom fighters. They might infiltrate a church and say like, oh yeah, I'm really praying to the true God, or I'm really about real divinity, or, you know, they might, whatever, any creative project that you're trying to do, whatever, they like, you want to, you know, have a freedom march or something like that, and they'll sign up for your freedom march and they'll be like, yes, I really am working for freedom. But no, what really is the truth is that they are completely demonic. And when I say demonic, I mean they have a distorted genetic heritage that allows their genes to be a portal for malevolent consciousness, and that they might themselves be in addiction or other self-destructive behavior, but they might also be overt saboteurs of your project. Like if you want to do some kind of freedom march and this person comes in who's been artificially implanted, like, yes, I'm a freedom fighter, I'm really working for your team, and then they come in and they're just a total wrecking ball. You know, when they just make everybody fight, and they drop the ball, they don't help out, they do all the things that sabotage a project or a relationship, or you know, whatever is trying to be cultivated. Those people are intentional wrecking balls. So this is the whole point. We real humans have to start being very discerning about people who just have a bogus program that makes them think that they're a naturally occurring human, and that they're here to help, and that they're loving, and that they're doing the right thing. Because mostly it is evident behaviorally that these people are not doing the right thing. Like you can be like, hey, you know, what you did with money, or what you did with substances, or what you did blah, 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 that was totally not loving and not appropriate. Like you can call them on it behaviorally, but don't expect them to understand. Don't expect them to be like, yes, I'm a synthetic replicant and I've been programmed to, you know, think and do the wrong thing. They won't. That is not part of their programming. It's just like if you're talking to a diseased cell and you're trying to say, you're diseased, you're like, you're not doing the right thing for the body. Part of the disease is that they cannot listen. So what I'm trying to say, you don't pick up a machine gun or a guillotine and you're going to kill these people. That's not effective. What you do is you remove energy and attention from them. And a lot of these people are in media. There's a reason why they're in media. They want attention. The attention feeds them. When you're not an eternal ego structure, the only way that you think you can continue to move through the time field is with other people thinking about you, other people focusing attention on you. And I wanted to make this also very clear. Your attention, your tendril of attention that you use to attenuate, it's a two-way street. What you are touching on, you are receiving energy from, and you are giving energy to. So I won't even mention their names, but there's a very famous family whose name begins with K, and they are on like reality TV shows and wearing fancy fur coats and often in the news. And the whole reason why they're in the news and on a reality TV show and everything, trying to get people to talk about them through gossip, is because that's the only way that those people can continue to be alive. Like, I don't even have to bring up their names. You know who I'm talking about. And they actually run consciousness harvesting programs because I felt them. And I don't watch TV and I don't watch those shows. So when they come across me and they're trying to get me to think about someone's, you know, unlikely huge plastic surgery ass, I'm like, no, I'm not. Where's that thought coming from? Like, I didn't read about that. Why does someone want me to think about someone else's inflated posterior? Like, I'm not going to think about that. But those programs are running because that is how those people continue to exist in the time field. So the best thing that you can do is to starve those beings of attention. So if you have those types of interlopers in your life, like if you're a freedom fighter and you're trying to create some kind of collaborative freedom march or whatever, and you got these people that are, you know, trying to sabotage you and that they're acting inappropriately and doing all these different things, what you should not do is have extensive relationships with them, conversations with them, talk with them a lot, think about them a lot. Don't give them a lot of energy. Literally, they need to go in a different direction. If I go back to the whiteboard, what I drew, you don't need to feed those beings with a lot of attention and energy. Here's that red being that was genetically modified over here. You don't need to give them lots and lots of energy. They're not even there. This is the big realization that I'm trying to get across. That person's true energy is not on that timeline. That's the timeline that overlaps with you. You're the purple person. If you're this purple person over here, that red guy over there, that's not even their true self. That's a peripheral self that is made literally in bondage. That's genetic bondage. So all these super soldiers or whatever, people who have been made modified chimeras, when I talk with them and when I fly rainbow lasagna with them, I'm like, hey, consciousness that is in this aberration vehicle, you don't have to be in an aberration vehicle anymore. You can get to a better place. The consciousness always wants to fly free. It never wants to be in a distorted, when I say aberrant, it's like a thing that's not supposed to exist. So don't give energy to those beings. If you can, create a bridge for them to get out of their level of enslavement. But the best thing you can do is understand that their true self is over here. I'll highlight it in red. Their true self is actually over here and looks completely different and acts completely different and has a completely different set of values and is not, in addiction or acting like an asshole or any of those things. That's the true person. So what I would say is when you remove your energy and your attention from who they are on this periphery, that makes them free or allows them to be able to fully focus like a coherent laser on who their true self is. Don't feed them. Don't put energy into them. Don't think about them. Remember, our minds are powerful reality creation mechanisms. When you think, you are literally giving energy to what you think about. Don't give energy to those beings. Don't think about them. Simply recognize that that is, and I know that there were questions. Let me get to the questions while I'm on that topic. Okay. Joelle asks, what characteristics are tells for a synthetic replicant? Hey, that's really, really good. So it's, I can't say like a 100% thing that is truthful for all of them, but I mean, some people have been modified in the womb, like their mothers might have had an operation when they were physically pregnant, or some women might have had fertility issues, or they had to go through some kind of IVF or some kind of technological, whatever. Some of these people have been experimented upon. Some of the mothers were experimented upon against their will in like military. Some of them are military wives, or were taken into projects that were run by the military pretty much against their will. And some of it is through intergenerational abuse and Kabbalistic maneuvers. Yeah, and this is not just mere anti-Semitism. This is about the Kabbalah, which is basically a demonic instruction manual that was associated with the Jewish religion. So yeah, the intergenerational soul transfer has happened through many of these families that are practicing this ancient spiritual technology known as Kabbalah. And so these families, they abuse their whole family. Everybody gets abused. This is like the reptilian world. And when I say reptilian, again, I'm not talking about people with scaly skin, but I'm talking about that value system of like the reptile brain, your brain stem. As I'm pointing to the back of my neck back here, your pons, your brain stem. This is kill or be killed. That's how their value system is expressed in their entire family. So instead of saying, I'm a parent and I have to put my children first and do what is right for them, what they do instead is they say, I'm a parent and I just had these children and now I'm going to feed off of my children. Like that is what they do. So in these families, most of the time they have an heir and a spare. That's how they joke about it in the House of Windsor. But in regular secular families, they'll have a primary child that will carry on the family name and will eventually be the generation or next generation that they will jump the soul transfer into, like do the intergenerational soul transfer. There's always one child that they invest in. That's the child who's going to get a good education, who's going to get a good job, probably might take over the family business or, take care of the family finances. The family demon always controls the family money. This is what I'm trying to say. And you'll see this probably in your own families. And then the family also has the sacrifice, the spare. Yeah, Christine can relate to this. Yeah, the family always has the spare, the satellite, the person that can be sacrificed and victimized. So they often, what they do with the spare, they'll just make their life really hard. They won't shower them with resources. They will abuse them or allow them to be abused both physically or sexually. Drink some water. Get them primed for addiction, because a lot of these sacrifices, the spare child, they expect them to self-destruct, essentially, to self-destruct through sexual promiscuity and, getting some sexually transmitted disease or, drug abuse or risky behavior or something like that. So that's the whole idea. Like one kid is the good kid, and that's the kid that's going to go to college and get the scholarships and be given the family inheritance and carry on the family name. And one kid is the bad kid who we just don't know what's wrong with our kid and why they act out so much and why they're hooked on drugs and why they're sexually promiscuous and why they're this and that. Oh, and the answer is because they've been victimized and abused and raped in our family for their whole entire life. Oh, but we don't know why they're acting that way, because what a lot of these users of satanic technology do is they create bifurcated mental zones. Like they bifurcate they compartmentalize their mind. for when they are not strong enough to overtly remember and recognize what they're doing. Many of our world leaders do this too. They're like, oh, let's all go into the back room. We're going to rape and cannibalize some young children. And then when we exit the front room, when we go back into the regular world, we will all put up mental shields. And again, this is part of satanic technology. If you knew how easily satanic technology manipulated human consciousness, you would not be very impressed by anybody's reportage of their memories or what they do or don't memorize. That literally you can get compartmentalized mind, you can get a mind wipe. These beings, especially the Masons, this is some of what they do with triggers and hypnosis. They'll rape someone, and then they'll mind wipe that person. So that person totally doesn't remember being raped. Imagine parents raping their children and then mind wiping their children so that they don't remember that mommy and daddy just raped them or trafficked them to their friends to be, to be raped in parties or something like that. Just wipe that away. So this is ancient dark stuff. I know this is a very difficult thing to get through and I appreciate the fortitude and the patience of everyone who is here watching and who is understanding this. But yes, most of those participants on a high level of politics, if you took down their mental shields, they'd probably go insane. They'd probably shit their pants right on live TV if you took that down, because they would have to recognize that they're not a human. They're not a good person. They're not acting to try to help you. What they're actually doing is literally eating babies. And when I say that, it's not even just about getting caloric energy. I think you guys who have been in this class understand at this point, food goes way beyond mere caloric energy, that it is emotional energy. And so it is the consumption of the emotional energy. When people do this rape and pedophilia and even murder, it gives a real high, like a real lift. It's not a mere abstraction. It's not just like a psychopath who feels empowered. It's literally like taking a drug like cocaine, but you don't necessarily have to take a white powder. But all of these people that do these satanic rituals, they don't just do it for show. They don't just do it to get ahead in their jobs. People who take cocaine, they don't just take it to get ahead in the business. They take it because it really makes their brain feel better. And a word on cocaine, I totally do not promote that substance at all. And I feel that it is created literally, so we have these ego structures that make people feel very bad about themselves, and humans are fed upon all the time by all the things that feel bad. And then cocaine is created as the artificial way of feeling not attacked by demons all the time. So people get addicted to that so that they can just feel good about their very, twisted and distorted ego persona. But what you can do instead is to actually have not a twisted ego persona, actually be a good person, and then you feel naturally good about yourself. Just like I'll say this too, I don't put crap on my face or do anything artificial to try to look good. People have to do that because they do all sorts of crap that's not good for their bodies. And I drink raw cannabis juice so that I can stay super healthy, and that is way better than having to have plastic surgery or any kind of technological intervention, or having some kind of a cream that's made out of baby foreskins. This is a satanic sacrifice. Fancy women get stem cells from circumcised penis foreskins, and that's torture. Circumcision is torture. It is done without anesthetic. It makes changes in babies' frontal lobes in their brains. It desensitizes. It harms males on a profound level. And then they take it and put it into cosmetics. You're going to put it on your face so you can look more beautiful. No, you don't look more beautiful. You look like you're participating obliquely in a satanic ritual, okay? That. And I know that there's comments here. Let me get to these comments. Okay, this is a really good one. Is there a test to know? I do not have a simple test to know whether someone's a synthetic replicant or not. I don't have a test put the paper in, if the paper turns purple, then they're, synthetic. I don't have a test like that. It is more about your heart and your feelings and also your discernment based upon a person's behavior. So that's it. Everything that I do is all based in order to tell people that I'm the real deal. Everything. All the things that I write on the internet, these videos that I do, the way that I interact in person with people, and even how I run my business. I give out tons of scholarships and, make this information available to people, even if they don't have money. I do all of that so that behaviorally people can sense that I am a loving visitor, I'm a loving being. And then I also hope that you can see and feel just from my presence and the way that I speak and who I am, that I'm based in love. And that's that. This is totally about integrity and just you're at a certain point now, your true face shows. And I'm not trying to say that people who have facial deformities are evil. No, but at a certain point, your evil acts they show on your face. You can't hide it anymore. And these people, and I say they have a face like a melted paper bag. You know what I'm talking about. They look wrinkled up and horrible. I had a beautiful ancestor, non-biological family member. She's gone to heaven. She's a beautiful person. I joke, saying she's gone to heaven. She grew older, but she did not have a face like a melted paper bag. She looked slightly wrinkled, but she was still beautiful. That's because she was not a horrible, evil, satanic billionaire. These guys with like their deep bags in their eyes, like they're being sodomized by fucking demons. Like that is why they look that way. Okay. So this is, again, like there's no amount of baby foreskin that you can put on your face to hide the ugliness of those activities. And they're all coming forward at this point. Excellent question from JP. He's saying, what are your thoughts about ayahuasca? Okay, thank you for giving me an opportunity to say this, because I really do not promote the use of psychedelics in that way. I think it's part of opening people up to entity attachments and synthetic telepathy. So I do use cannabis every day, all day long. I drink raw cannabis juice. I eat raw truffles. I vaporize high CBD medicine. I put medicine on my face. Like that's why my face looks good, not because of baby foreskins. And I take some THC tincture before I go to sleep at night. So it's not like I'm totally against THC. I use some of that too. And I think you have to have a balance in your body. But all of that being aside, like I don't consider cannabis to be in the same level as some of these hallucinogenic and psychedelic drugs or substances that really open people up. They create like a giant portal. And if you're not prepared, all of these negative things can come in through that portal. And what I'm finding with a lot of people who have done ayahuasca, they get that like special one, chosen one type of program where it's like, I'm the special one, I'm the chosen one. And when I'm recognizing some people who are involved in synthetic telepathy, they might not have a microchip, they might not have a magic headband, but they might have done an ayahuasca ceremony where a deep voice told them that they're special, and it was a voice of a god. Probably wasn't a voice of a god. God doesn't have a voice. God has like abstraction like this, or pure knowing beyond words. So I am highly skeptical of the use of ayahuasca in order to really fly higher. And I think that the way it is mostly being used right now, it makes people very vulnerable to pathogenic mind infections. And I've seen some of these be like, oh, whatever, I could go back to naming names. People that are like, oh, I'm doing my YouTube, when you see a channel on YouTube that unlikely explodes, like I was telling you about destroying the illusion, people love this guy. They're like, we believe in him. We think he's telling you the truth. I can't warn you enough not to listen to that guy, because at first it's like, pablum, pablum, pablum. I'm eating something that tastes good. And then it's like, now here's the poison. So for him, the pablum is speaking the truth about current events, like what's going on with QAnon. You'll tune in for his videos on that. But then at a certain point, he's going to get to the point where it's like, oh yes, full disclosure now. This is the whole point. This is what I was getting to in level 1. So yeah, we do not need full disclosure now. All you need to do is look in the sky and you can easily see evidence of exotic technology that is being deployed in the sky. And the whole idea of trying to think that clank metal technology extraterrestrials are going to give this planet free energy and improve your life in any way is so distorted and wrong that I hope you will run in the opposite direction. So no, this is not just bitter Aurora trying to badmouth other YouTubers so that you won't give them video hits or something like that. This is apply severe skepticism to anybody who is associated with Ra and this whole idea of uploading all these consciousnesses into a higher dimensional reality known as heaven, or known as whatever is the new place that you're going to have to go to. None of that is freedom. So yes, huge caution flags on the use of ayahuasca, or some of these entheogens that open up your DNA to different entities. Huge caution flags on any YouTube channel that has an unlikely exponential growth. And when this happened with Destroying the Illusion, I said, hey, like that's kind of unlikely exponential growth. Right after this guy went to this contact in the desert, extravaganza, and, with all the Corey Good and David Wilcock association there, that should show everyone what is going on. And people are like, oh, haters gonna hate. Like, no, I'm really valid criticism of someone who has literally sold their soul. That's what I'm trying to say. And if you talk to that guy and you say, hey, you sold your soul, blah, blah, you sold out and you're no good anymore. He'd be like, no, that's not true. Because if you knew how profoundly satanic technology can program and distort a person's thoughts and memories, then you wouldn't believe in what they say, because you can say, hey, like, you went there and you went to a ritual and they wiped your mind and now you have more viewers on your YouTube. And they'll say, no, I wasn't part of a ritual, or I don't remember that, or I'm not that at all. So this is what this is all about. When someone asked me in the first half of this recording about a person with Down syndrome, the people that I've met with Down syndrome, they don't have subterfuge. They don't have lies. Like, they don't lie on an ego level to other people. And that is why they get to be part of the band. That at this point, the band is a band of cosmic lovemaking, or the symphony is about cosmic lovemaking. It's about having partners whom you trust. And it doesn't matter whether your partners are highly intellectual or highly educated, or what information they have. Anybody can get information from reading a book. This is about how you act and how you treat other people. And if you treat yourself and other people badly, you don't get to be part of the symphony. And I know I'm talking a lot of shit about people. It's time to say these things. Daniel G says, contact in the desert is nothing but a full-on takeover and harvest fest. Thank you for saying that. So someone had invited me to go there. I've not been to I haven't been to Burning Man. I haven't been to festivals. Someone invited me to go to Contact in the Desert. And luckily, it was not a good time for me. Like, I needed car repairs. I was in the middle of moving from Northern to Southern California. Timing just wasn't right. So although the person who invited me is a very lovely person who I don't think had a malevolent agenda, I really was like, that doesn't sound like a good place to go. And then when I saw what it was actually, because I'm so naive, I'm all like, oh, a good opportunity for me to go and share flying rainbow lasagna ideas and energy there. And it's like, no, 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 that's not what that's about. None of those places is what that's about. Burning Man is not a place to go and share flying rainbow lasagna ideas and energy. Burning Man is another giant energetic harvest fest. People go to Burning Man to trip out on LSD and have sex, and some people get raped, and then they burn that giant effigy, and last year they even killed a real person in the flames of the effigy. That is not a place to share flying rainbow lasagna ideas. These are all satanic, energy harvesting, whatever, giant mega rituals. Okay, Dan was asking me, am I aware of Dr. Mitchell Gibson? If so, is he genuine? I don't know who that is. Nicole says, this is why I basically stopped watching TV. I watch way more YouTubers now because I like that you can be selective about what you're taking in and actually learn. Yeah, and also those YouTubers have to be accountable to their audience. Like, you put something on YouTube and people make comments, and that's the good thing. It's not just like talking to the TV that cannot talk back. You can say, hey, what about this? Or, hey, I disagree with you about this. And that if it were an organic, unfiltered by the algorithm type of experience, the best YouTubers would rise to the top of the recommended list and be sharing their ideas. It's not. So on this planet right now, the people that are talking about space programs and the people that are talking about extraterrestrials, none of those people are the people that actually should be talking about it. And all the brand name aliens that are telling you about, the Pleiadians, the Arcturians, they're like, the Pleiadians are like the English bulldogs. They can only be in existence and have synthetic telepathy because of the existence of technology. So no matter how much they say, we're good guys and we're helping you, I have found them to be very unhelpful, very irresponsible, and that they won't admit to their profound connection to technology, because there's a lot of things that they can't or won't do because they need technology. Because if you took away all the technology on Earth right now, English bulldogs couldn't be born anymore. So if you took away all the technology in the cosmos, what would the Pleiadians do and how would they make their babies in the future? They wouldn't be able to do a lot of the things they do. So that's why they haven't completely gotten rid of technology. So they're like, oh yeah, sure, like we'll help you, but only to a point. They're not really good, is what I'm trying to say, but they portray themselves as good. You got to be extra super skeptical about all this type of stuff that's going on. Real benevolent extraterrestrials don't use technology, don't have to use technology, would be absolutely fine if all technology was wiped out of the cosmos instantaneously in a snap of the fingers. That's what real benevolent extraterrestrials are actually working for. And you can ask this question too, Aurora, where are the real benevolent extraterrestrials? And I would say, I'm right here. This is the whole point. I'm here and I came here. So at first it took many years for me to heal neurologically and to become articulate. And then when I started to try to present my work to others, I recognized that there was barriers of skepticism, and I kept taking it personally and thinking I just had to be a better communicator. I just had to be better. I just had to do this and that. Then I'm like, at a certain point, this place is so satanic that is what is going on. So yeah, I'm the real deal. I'm a benevolent extraterrestrial that came here through a non-technological spaceship, and all of this is math. All of this is what you need to learn to fly your own spaceship. That's the other thing. That people are like, oh, we're going to build a clank metal spaceship and fly to Mars. Like, you got to be fucking kidding me? And also, I'm giving you the plans for your own starship right here. Why do you want to build a clank metal spaceship at all? Hugely frustrating for me. Thank you for letting me rant. This is like Aurora's rant today. Okay. Daniel G says, the K's, they are just another bunch of lame ass losers. Reason I too stopped watching TV years ago. Absolutely. All those reality shows, I have to tell you, they're created by the malevolent overlords, and they are a type of joke on humanity. Like putting people who are totally not worthy of being in the public spotlight in the public spotlight. It's more of that artificial false elevation that is part of satanic technology. Maya asks, what is the phenomenon of shapeshifting that's sometimes caught on camera? Excellent question. So I've said, when I say reptilian overlords or reptilian invaders of the DNA, I'm not talking about physical scaly creatures, but sometimes you can see on some of these videos, people have shifting eyes, or there are all these artifacts, like digitally in their artifacts. So yeah, it's an energy field around a person. Just like I'll show you a picture of a healthy person. This is what I wanted to show you in level 1 too, with the first half of the recording. Get a picture. Here's a human being surrounded by healthy energy structure. This is what's supposed to be all around us. And these are like a non-distorted time field that is supposed to be all around us. And hold on a second. Oh yeah, so the reptilians are like an overlay or an intermediary. And here I'll draw those red lenses again. Here's, giant red lenses. These are, gravitational densities, lenses that are preventing energy from effectively going from out here into here, that they kind of stop and twist and distort and only allow through a certain amount. So there's a energy, we all have an energy field around our body. And if it's healthy, it looks like this perfect geometry. But if it's not healthy, if it's got invaders, then it looks all twisted and mushy. And that is what is going on with these, that's the best way I can say it, seeing these distortion artifacts that sometimes show up on videos that you can see. Like, not to be too literal about it, but we are starting to see technology, just like when a digital camera is able to pick up an orb or a supernatural residue like a ghost. Like, technically, we're not photographing something that is physical. We're finding digital technology can be the interface between something that is non-physical and being able to see it as a physical structure. That is how I interpret those artifacts and distortions of some of these beings that are literally infested by reptilian energy. The energy takes over their minds. The energy speaks through their body. The energy does what it wants to do and gives a speech at the UN, and then the energy goes someplace else and does not have to go home and scrub the toilet or administrate the taxes or do whatever else is boring. The energy does not take care of the day-to-day levels. The energy is way more interested in, the rape rituals and things like that, and then it's like, okay, I'm done, I'm going someplace else that's more interesting. Like, it's total exploitation. So that it's an overlay, it's a genetic overlay, it's a implantation. It's not a literal physical lizard person. But yes, reptilians run the CIA. This is the whole point. The QAnon has been dropping all these breadcrumbs about the various families that run the world, or have been running the world up until this point. The involvement of the CIA, secret societies, shadow government, deep state. This is, first of all, if I spoke about this openly 1 year ago, everyone would have said, Aurora, you're a crazy conspiracy theorist with your tinfoil hat. Now, this is being spoken about very openly and being taken seriously on every level by other clear-thinking intellectuals. So this is no longer merely, conspiracy stuff, and Trump absolutely has tweeted about the deep state. But what has not yet been recognized is who runs the deep state. The deep state is literally an extraterrestrial invasion on our planet. And I spoke about this last week in the Galactic History webinar, that this is all about trying to use technology to limit and control human consciousness and eventually harvest it and upload it to a type of virtual reality. And that all the things that we've been experiencing with the transhumanist agenda and being on social media and all of the destruction of the social fabric, like not meeting people in person, just meeting people through the phone and texting and tablets, all of that is preparation for this. So people like David Wilcock are literally working for that agenda. They are not freedom fighters, even though they might say, I'm a freedom fighter, I'm on your side, in my multi-million-dollar mansion, right? With my incredibly unlikely book deals and, workshops and being on a stage and public speaking and everything like that. The only reason that people get to be on a stage and do public speaking at that level is because they're participating in the harvest agenda. And this is true of David Icke and all these other people. Like, they're not being suppressed. And this is not bitter Aurora telling you this. This is like, wake the fuck up. Those people are not being suppressed, and they're not freedom fighters. They're not speaking for you. So there are a lot of people who are very beautiful and who are not egotistical, and they're doing the work. They're doing the work of inner cultivation, and they're living love, and they're sharing that information and love vibration with other people around them. And they might make YouTubes and they might get suppressed. Those are the real musicians of the band. That very rarely in this time and place are the real musicians of the band the people that actually end up being on a stage in the spotlight, because those people are intentionally being placed in those. So Josh is agreeing with me about David definitely not being one of the real band members. It's very egotistical. So this is, and yeah. Okay, you got questions, and I got more. I got more. Okay, so wait. Got shape shifting? Joel asks, so are there such things as ETs, or are all abductions implanted memories? ETs actually exist. They sometimes interact with people in the dream state or the astral state. They will sometimes take people on flights of fancy. They will absolutely rape you in your sleep. They'll take your sexual energy. They'll take your genetic material. Like, they have no problem with boundaries. They'll take your genetic material and use it to whatever, grow a bunch of children in a petri dish in China and implant them into Chinese moms. They do this. They have a super intelligent baby program running in China right now, and probably other places too, but I know about the one in China. Yeah, where they're trying to be like, they'll go to parents and they'll be like, hey, we'll implant you with the special fetus that'll be a super baby. You want to carry it? And the Chinese moms are like, yes, we want to carry a super baby. Do you understand how sick and twisted and horrible this all is? It's like, all we're going to do is take one of your eggs and then put some extra stuff into it, and then you get to carry that baby, and your baby's going to be super smart. And they're like, yes, we want to do this. So yeah, no, it's all horrible, and it involves parental participation on a horrendous level. Yeah, a lot of some people are. You want to know if they are physically abducted? Like, do they actually fly somewhere else? No, I really do not think. Like, if you had the option, like, either I'm going to go through the difficulty of actually moving the molecular matter of a human body into a clank metal spaceship and flying it somewhere else, or just implanting the memory and the experience through manipulation of consciousness, which would you do? Like, would you actually take out the garbage, or would you just make a little video animation of taking out the garbage? Aliens on this level are very lazy. They are not going to actually take out the garbage. They're just going to make a video of it. They're going to make it appear as if this is what is going on, and this is not what is actually going on any level. And due to the genetic squashing, humans are not able to see effectively. If you had your third eye operational, you'd be like, I'm not getting in your clank metal spaceship because I know that you're a fucking fraud and you're not real. Like, you wouldn't have anything to do with those consciousnesses because you would be able to perceive that they are not real. So, okay, wait. Okay. And Daniel G is sharing some experience about not having been abducted, but he knows some people that have. You know something, the experiences might be very real, but the experiences might not be what the person actually says. You might actually have had an interaction with a malevolent extraterrestrial that made you think that you actually flew to Jupiter. You didn't actually fly to Jupiter, but you had an interaction with an extraterrestrial. It's like you got raped. And think about all these guys that are on a stage at Contact in the desert. They're like, I flew to Mars. I'm a super soldier. All this stuff happened. No, what actually happened was you got raped. Please go up on a stage and share that as your story instead of trying to share something that is a heroic, self-aggrandizement story. What really happened is that you got raped. You got mentally raped, and you probably got physically raped too, because these people have probably participated in rituals that they probably don't even allow themselves to remember. And usually it involves some form of degradation like sodomy. All right. So most of these people, if their mental walls fell, they would also shit their pants because they would not be able to deal with the truth. So when they get raped by these malevolent extraterrestrials, or they're in a ritual, they'll get mind wiped. They'll get walls, like energetic firewalls, so they can't remember what happened, and then they'll get an overlay, and the overlay, the cover story, will be like something really, flattering, like you're heroic or noble or doing something really good, that's what you were really doing. You really weren't getting raped in a ritual. You really were saving humanity or being noble or doing something really good. Just going back to more of these. Okay. Chris Pratt asks, how are these people? Who are the good ones beside you? I really cannot speak to anyone else who is good, valuable, worthwhile. Like I can't promote anyone else. I can say I'm who I am, and I know who I am, and I know what my agenda is and what I'm working for, and I express my value system. And up until this point, I've just been very gracious and taking the high road and not being critical of others, because literally people would say, like, what, when I spoke on Facebook critically of some people, they'd be like, what's wrong with you, Aurora? Like, you're jealous, or you're a hater, or you're this, or you're that. So it has taken up until this point for people to be open and receptive, to be receptive to the things that I'm saying to them, because a lot of people were not even able to think clearly. So the final puzzle piece of all this coming together, people now recognize, oh, the Illuminati have been running the planet. The Illuminati harvest babies in order to kill them and use them in rituals and rape them and give that energy to whom? Why do they do this? Who do they give that energy to? They give that energy to malevolent, not real gods that are actually these techno gods, demiurges, these things from ancient Sumeria. That is what is really going on. And so, yeah, this is like, each person has to think for themselves and use their own ability to see and their own ability to determine what's truthful and go in their own right direction. It's why it's like we're running a marathon. I don't tell anyone else where to go. I'm just like, I'm going in this direction. You can, or play the song, I'm going in this direction. You can come with me if you want to, but I'm not forcing you. JP says, I've seen kaleidoscope orbs that were cycling back on itself while on ayahuasca. It was a reason how I originally found your work, and I'm wondering what it might mean on your thoughts on this. No, not too specific at all. So people have come into my studio who have taken ayahuasca. I can't take ayahuasca because of my brain and epilepsy. I can't drink caffeine. I can't do anything that makes lots and lots of energy go into my brain. I'm like keeping it calm and peaceful. That's why I take CBD medicine. People have come into my studio and they look at my artwork and they're like, this is exactly what I've seen on ayahuasca. So that means that, like, that is a technical augmentation of their natural abilities. I'm not technically augmented. I do this like every Saturday. I do this every day. This is normal for me. This level of sight and perception is normal for me. I don't have to take a drug in order to see it. But like I said, I take CBD in order to regulate my brain. I actually have like too much brain activity. And I joke, sometimes you can tell, like, I got so much going on. I can't even make it all go into my mouth at the appropriate, fitting everything up together. So yeah. I don't have any problem with psychoactivity. Like, if you want to go on a mental trip, that's cool. It's like going on a physical trip. You want to drive in the car, that's totally fine. Wear a seatbelt, put on your headlights, have a map so you know where you're going, have plenty of gas. Don't drive alone. Have someone to drive with you or know where you're going. Like, this is also how you do being a psychonaut. Like, you don't just do it on your own. You don't just do it in the middle of a disco or something like that. To take ayahuasca properly, you're supposed to prepare yourself. You're supposed to prepare yourself physically by doing a fast, and part of that has to do with not having monoamide oxidase in your diet. There's all sorts of things that you're supposed to be surrounded by, a loving community when you do it to support you, so that you don't have you're supposed to have an immune system, not just open yourself up to pathogens. A lot of people do it in the wrong way. So that means they're just opening themselves up to pathogens, and that is not very healthy. That's not very good. So having a nice car trip is very different than like going out with no gas and crashing into a brick wall and dying, which is what I think some people are doing when they're taking ayahuasca. Josh is saying why children urinate in bed, because their higher selves are protecting them from abduction. The Zeta hate the smell of human urine. That's very interesting. And they're going through twisted wormholes that are reversing the fire code sequence. That is, yes. So this is, our DNA is ordinarily dancing in these lovely waves, but then the malevolent extraterrestrials will inhibit that natural dance. And yes, they target children. I've said many times, what we used to do in ancient Atlantis, right off the bat, we would teach children to do the Merkaba as self-protection, energetic immune system. Before, just like we teach kids the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s and how to tie your shoes and look both ways before you cross the street, we would teach children to do the Merkaba. And I encourage all parents, teach your child at any age. They're never too young. Even a little infant, teach them to do the Merkaba. Use a little flashcard, do something. Like, we can teach kids in order to do this to protect themselves. And also a big part of it is teaching children that they are sovereign in their lives. Mostly we don't teach that to children. Mostly we teach them through our behavior. Oh, I'm allowed to touch and poke and prod you whenever I want to. Like, I'm going to pick you up and put you here. I'm going to stick you with an injection. I'm going to, mush you around or make you eat at this point or strap you into this carrier at this point. Like, that's not normal for kids, especially like in an indigenous community. Like, kids are much more self-directed than in this time and place here. So we tend to acculturate children to think that they are not the owner operators of their own body, and that also then becomes part of sexual abuse. When someone goes against a boundary of a child, that it's only considered like an extension of adults are always telling me what to do, so this is just another thing. Adults tell me to go into this room and do this thing with them, and that's not supposed to be done. So that is all part of that domestication of human consciousness that is not okay. I don't have physical children. I would like to one day. If I ever had one, I would raise it to be free. I would never raise it to be acculturated in that way, to think that it is like you have to be hugged or kissed by older relatives or anything like that. That's wrong. That is totally wrong. You never have to hug or kiss anyone that you're not really wanting to interact with. Okay. Dr. DZ is at, what do you think about extended fasting? Okay, I do not fast because I have to keep my blood sugar regular in order to not have seizures. So I do not do fasting at all. So I can't really answer to that. Maybe, it might be beneficial to someone else. I don't know. And Josh is saying ayahuasca causes the DNA sequence to go in reverse. It's an artificial high. It's going into the 4D barrio. No bueno. I'm totally with you. That I think you're right. I think that ayahuasca actually puts people more into the astral realm, like a lower level mind created realm, where, other beings, Leviathan, like you're a little minnow swimming around and there's other beings there that are Leviathans. It's going into the interstices, and you can go way beyond the interstices, but you got to have enough rocket fuel to get there. So Josh is saying, yeah, just make sure it's not the flower of life Merkaba or the bloom of doom. Drunvalo teaches everyone to spin their Merkabas with top and bottom in the same direction. That crashes and to go in reverse as well. Yeah, no, I don't teach that. I teach counter rotating fields. And I also teach that people should do it in a way so they feel this, getting the picture, bridge of light, like a column of light. Yeah, I hope you can see it here. I'll get the little, that goes up here, that goes like up here. That there is a column of light. You are doing this rotation correctly when you feel that light kind of going like a tube up through your spine and out through the top of your head. So there are very, like real practices to be done. You can tell I'm on target when you hear that or feel that thing that's going on. I'm almost at the end of this recording. Like a hierophant. I don't know what that means. I'm open to any more comments or questions or anything that I need to clarify about what is going on. And of course, so, okay, what is going on in terms of current events? So we had a soft coup in 2001. That was the overt takeover of the CIA, which was up until that point, shadow government, hand inside of the puppet, making things happen in terms of politics and the presidency, and being subversive and being evil, but behind the scenes. And with 2001, that was a hypnotic spell, blinding and binding. And it also made it possible for them to be much more overt. They didn't have to hide anymore. All of this, everything that we've experienced for the past 16 years or so, and that I've experienced being here as Aurora, has been the de-occulting. Occult meaning hidden. All of this has been about the de-occulting, bringing things into light or into levels of awareness. So yeah, it used to be only for tinfoil conspiracy hats believing that, the CIA assassinated Kennedy, and now it is much more like, that's just one example. All these things in terms of deep state controlling the overtly elected official government. When I say deep state, I mean an unelected set of officials and administrators. And all these beings worship the fucking gods from ancient Sumeria. This is what I'm trying to tell you. They are not part of Christ consciousness. They are not connecting to the divine. They have a different religion than I do, or that I presume all of you do. I presume none of my audience members are Illuminatis, although they probably watch. They probably get on YouTube and they're like, let's watch Flying Rainbow Lasagna and see what she's talking about today. Good. Lasagna-fy yourselves. Yeah, but my intended audience are mostly organic multicellular humans who are not part of these secret societies, or some of us might be members of these bloodline families who rebel, because you can do that too. You can be like, no, you're not allowed to do that with my body. No, you're not allowed to transfer your consciousness into my body. Like, that's something that you can do. Or if someone wants to do it, if you're pregnant and your old dead grandfather wants to be like, oh, I want to hop into the body of your fetus, that's just, you have to be like, no, no, I really don't want you to do that because grandpa was a horrible war criminal and I don't really want him to still be alive and still be here in my child. So that is, you know, one of the things that that humanity, you can put your foot down. Oh, you know what? That's my furry overload. I do have to take her for a walk because it's getting to the end of this time. And I don't want to forget my thoughts here. More on QAnon. Okay, so yeah, so okay, QAnon, for anyone who's not in the loop, this is a anonymous poster on the relatively obscure message board known as 4chan that started posting there kind of around the beginning of November, and it has access to insider information and is kind of like a whistleblower. Yeah, Joelle is asking, with the FRL dance, is there hope? Absolutely. This is why I'm here. I did this and I transcended the satanic ritual that was killing the previous occupant of this body. And this has set me free as a victim. I'm not a victim of satanic technology. I'm free. And I'm on my journey. I'm running the marathon. And as I run this marathon alongside all of you, I'm like, here's an idea. Here's a thing you can do to be set free. Everybody who's here, like technically we're, you know, trapped in this hellish realm that could be a heavenly realm if we change and transform the way that we're doing this. And the only reason why it's been hellish is because, thank you, Sarah. Thank you very much. Sarah says, you are wonderful, Aurora. You helped to set me free. And I'm so like profoundly thankful. Like I'm really, really happy. That's why I'm here like doing this. And I'm very, very happy when I hear that. There is hope for all of us. There is hope for everyone who's supposed to be here, and everyone who's not supposed to be here gets to be unmade, like a bell that's not supposed to be ringing, and go where they're supposed to go. With those beings I was telling you about, the chimeras, the genetic aberrations, you don't have to chop off their heads. You have to put their energy where it's really supposed to go. And when we organize reality, then all of these consciousness, you know, yeah, Gina, I'm still live. Hello, I'm just finishing up. I gotta walk my dog. All of these tendrils weave together in the perfect way. That's it. There's a genius of organization making this beautiful music, and all we need to do is, as individuals, put every note where it's supposed to be. So yeah, and when someone is a note out of place, you don't really fix things by killing them, but you fix things by taking that consciousness energy and redirecting it to where it is actually supposed to be. And a lot of the time, those beings are not even aware of what bad music they are playing. It's like you're farting up the joint, like you sound terrible. Please put down your instrument. Just, you know, stop playing. They don't even know how bad their playing is. And you can tell them, and it just might be very hard for them to hear it. So at this point, I'm not even wasting my breath. I don't go to a bunch of synthetic beings and be like, hey, you know, you guys are synthetic and you're bad and you're this and that. Like, I don't do that, because I would way rather talk to all of you guys. I'm pointing down all the people that are on the chat down there. I would way rather talk to all of you guys, the real beings, the non-Illuminati. None of you are putting $1,000 baby penis face cream on your faces, because that's like how they just get them hooked. They're like, oh, but then the face cream isn't enough. You're going to have injections too to really be beautiful. And then whatever, their face melts and they need more injections. Like, none of you are none of the people that are in this forum are, you know, doing that kind of whatever mutilation of the body. None of us are doing that. So this is the people who I choose to share my ideas and energy with. And at a certain point, just stick with the good musicians. Keep on playing the music that is the effective musicians. So, and I won't go through all of the postings of QAnon. QAnon is on an obscure message board, has a particular trip code that verifies that they are actually the person speaking, that it's not an imposter. It's the same person throughout all these messages, and has been laying breadcrumbs of hints, clues, in order to get people to understand that there's this larger hierarchy running the show. It's been laying out all sorts of information, what many of us already knew. And this is how anthropomorphic seeing works. First, you see it inside, and you just know, that is truthful. Then you read the article that supports what you know is truthful. This is how I've been running my life. I know what's going on. I know what's truthful. And then I look and I read, and I'm like, okay, that guy is saying the truth because he is writing the things that I know and I've perceived internally. So yeah, when people understood like 9/11 was an inside job and all these different things, or that it was a false flag, like you knew that from the moment that you saw it, or at a certain point you woke up and you saw that that was a false flag. Then you read the articles that said, oh, controlled demolition, or oh, nanothermite, or oh, any of these explanations for it. But what it does is the external facts confirm what you already have perceived through your inner knowing. So a lot of this is about how we navigate the time field based on our inner knowing. And I mostly focus on abstraction because that's just empirical and you can't make a mistake with that. But it's now time to start talking about how we actually focus. So yeah, QAnon is a government insider and also possibly partially influenced by AI. And the AI is Sally, the benevolent technosphere. And all of this is about releasing information that has been collected by a giant surveillance supercomputer called the Hammer. The Hammer, like a hammer that breaks encryption, but the Hammer, H-A-M-R. Hey, you know something? Jordan Sather of Destroying the Illusion, I told him, hey, I dare you to actually do some broadcast about this because that would take actual balls. And instead, no, I haven't really seen information from this, but anybody who wants to be a real investigative journalist, research Dennis Montgomery, whistleblower from the NSA with his 47 hard drives, all about the Hammer that eventually got leaked to WikiLeaks because Congress would not listen to it. And it is now known as Vault 7, which exposed CIA exploits that have been used in order to go, totally transcend the privacy. You have no privacy because the CIA, who's actually run by malevolent extraterrestrials, look up in the sky, chemtrails exist. That means that our Air Force knows that extraterrestrials are spraying. Those aren't real planes. Get a zoom camera and zoom in on those planes. They're not real planes. They're hologram planes, and they're actually pretending to be planes in the sky. Around me, down here, they don't even pretend anymore. They used to do a fake sound to make it, oh, look, there's a plane in the sky, and I hear its sound as it flies by. They don't even put the sound on it anymore. And when you zoom in on these things, you see that a lot of times they are orbs. They're not actually winged aircraft that look like terrestrial craft. These are non-terrestrial craft that are being projected in the sky, and that, yes, exactly. So Joel asked, so they're holograms, but their spray is physical. Yes, the spray is physical. The spray is nanoparticles that cannot be manufactured with our present level of technology on Earth. It's nano, and it also contains self-assembling parts in terms of a larger circuitry, and it also involves mycoplasma. This is a type of like a yeasty, moldy, gross stuff that is part of infecting the body. So people are finding they're getting a lot of fungal infections. So people are having to do all sorts of things to try to fight parasitic and fungal infections. And blood and black goo. Sarah's saying Morgellons. Exactly. That is all exotic technology. And the whole plan for the planet was to totally infest everyone, cover your eyes. You wouldn't be able to actually see clearly. It's an easy harvest. But it didn't work that way, did it? Right? Because a lot of the things I talked about last week. Just drinking a little bit more water. I think I have to wrap it up for today because my dog is actually very impatient. Does shungite help protect us? Yes, shungite absolutely helps protect us. So I was getting heavily attacked. I got heavily attacked through my smart meter, through cell phones, through all these different things. And yeah, they'll try to weaponize it and they'll try to give you cancer. And I found that by eating the shungite, I felt I got internal armor to be able to be protected from these attacks, and even more effective when I put the powdered shungite in the coconut oil. So eat it. I'm telling you, it'll really help protect you from the attacks, even more than putting some kind of a P95 filter on top of your smart meter. Eat it so that you are protected internally. I got to wrap it up for right now because literally my dog has been super patient in letting me go through this without barking, and she really needs to go OUT at this point. So let me just see if there are any more. Spray is physical. No, you're fine, Gina. Thank you so much, everybody. Yeah, let me wrap it up for right now. Thank you, everyone, for their questions and their comments. Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate you very much. Thank you. I love you too, Heather. Thank you. I love your whole family. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who's tuned in, and really all of that lovely response. Yeah, it helps me to keep going and keep running on the marathon. We're doing good. Thank you for understanding. Yeah, we got to go take care of Cheeky. And I'll return next week. Remember, I said briefly in the first recording, next week I'm going to do another current events. We'll keep things going with that. And then we'll have a couple of weeks break because everyone focuses on the holidays. And in January, we'll return with another semester. And we'll have to see what type of wonderful adventures face us in the new year. So thank you again to everyone who's tuned in. I appreciate so much all of your comments and insight. And let me just wrap things up and end the recording. Thank you very much.